So apparently there was a tiny spot to present something, and I would like to take the opportunity to do so. I'm Paul, I'm OSGeo-PT. What's happening? It's coming. No?
Because we can use this computer.
I have this one. Does that help?
Is this
No, but it's working right now.
Yeah, okay. So the main question is why is Inspire not commonly used? This started in the OSGeo-NL day last year. We had a nice speaker, Michel Botsma, who works for the local water authority, and he's not a GIS professional. He's from the hydrology department of the water authority. But he uses a lot of these OGR and point cloud kind of tools from the OSGeo domain to solve his challenges. And he challenged the room saying, hey, GIS people, the tools that I have to my availability from the standard GIS department and the data I get from them is too simple. I cannot manage my complex hydrological data with that. And, but then if you look to the Inspire data scheme, who has read this document, the hydrology specification for Inspire? Yeah, so there's one or two. Inspire goes quite into detail about networking in water movement, but apparently this awareness is not available at the GIS department of the Water Authority. And that's kind of a shame. So why this mismatch? Inspire has been widely adopted by GIS departments, and maybe that was not such a good idea, because what would have been better if it was implemented in where the actual content is managed and where the actual real-world phenomena are solved. And this relates to that a lot of these generic GIS tools are actually not very capable to manage complex data. Because the situation gets worse. In the same document, this is the next picture. It's not just a water network, but there's relations with hydropower plants, which are managed in totally different data sets. So this brings a far more dynamic data world to the front, which the GIS tools commonly have a hard time. So we have this concept of objects versus the map layers. In GIS, we typically think in very flattish map layers. However, in the real world, these objects that are in map layers actually have links between them. They are hierarchical by design. And this is a picture from the Inspire conference from last year, from Thorsten Reitz from WeTransform. He started a research with the Fraunhofer Institute to look at new ways to do GIS clients. And they introduced this concept of linked maps, where objects appear on the map as soon as links are detected between them. So no layers there, it's just objects. So the next challenge in the whole Inspire, so why is Inspire a challenge, is that the data custodians are a bit complaining about these European models. They're so complex, but also they still don't fully cover the local situation, which may be a bit different than the European use case. Here, Inspire recommends to extend the model. And this is not generally known, but Inspire really asks you to extend the model to facilitate in the local dynamics. Another aspect of Europe versus regional is that we have the European directive, in Dutch this time, but this one should then be implemented by local governments. So in the Netherlands, fortunately, we have one Inspire law, but it's not the same law as the European one, so it's different. And then if you go to Germany, they have 16 Inspire laws. Every Bundesland has its own law, and so there's differences in the several laws, and if the law is already different, then of course the implementations will also be different. So the next challenge, Inspire and open data. Inspire loves open data, and open data loves Inspire because we've seen so many dynamics in the open data scene also related to Inspire. However, not in all Inspire data is open data. And closed data is not a reason not to publish. Because if you have closed data, you still have to share it with partners that are allowed to view it. And this is a general mix-up that people do. They think, oh, it's not open data, I don't need to publish it. Yes, you do. It's Inspire data. So in general, there's quite little attention to authentication and authorization in these products. But they're an essential part of data sharing. For example, these initiatives were researched in the OGC and the Inspire community to do like single sign-on between different servers. So you have a central identity provider that gives you access to a number of SDIs. Well, this is from a test bed that's currently running in Geonoven, the Dutch National Institute, and they tested XAML and OAuth in a number of GIS clients, and well, there's still quite some challenges, also in our software, the clients that we use. Well, then the next thing is the app schema GML. Most of the current GIS tools are not very capable, but we need complex processes, complex data to solve complex processes. On the other side, we also need simple data for simple processes. So you should not throw very difficult data at people who just want a simple map. And I think there's also a challenge for data providers that they should provide the data in a format that is understandable by the target audience that's going to work with that data. So Inspire followed OGC in its choice for app schema GML to describe hierarchical linked objects. This choice was made 10, 15 years ago. At that time, there was no linked data. It was with in universities. So they choose GML at that point. And actually, I was told that linked data was also on the table as a potential candidate, but it was not chosen for. Well, you will find app schema also in other OGC standards. So, does the GIS department has no tools to work with this app schema data? Of course, there are a lot of tools also in the scope of Inspire have popped up to work with app schema data. So I'm showing you a couple of open source applications to work with app schema, and this is an important one. HAIL is the one that gives you the capability to do extract, transform, and load from a relational model to an app schema model. This one has an integration with GeoServer, where you can define your mapping in HAIL and then publish it on GeoServer. So GeoServer has an app schema plugin to do app schema. The other one is Degree. Degree has had a long history of app schema. And this one is relatively a new one. Since QGIS 3, there is the GML application schema plugin in QGIS, which allows you to take from a WFS or from a GML file and open it in QGIS directly as various feature types that are available in that GML. So to be able to do that, it first transforms the data into a relational model. In this case, it's SQLite database. And as soon as it's in a relational database, it will then visualize it in QGIS. And then at some point, you export the data back into the GML and you share it with others. So that's about the app schemas. The other concept of Inspire are the discovery, view, and download services. So Inspire chose most the OGC and ISO standards, but they added some additional rules on top of these standards, which brings them together more or less to make a really usable case, and also to add the multilingual aspect, which of course in Europe is important. So they did this by doing the directives, the technical guidelines, some tools, and some validators. This is a discovery service, for example, in GeoNetwork. You look at a website, you find a data set, and you bind to it. And this binding aspect has been improved by Inspire. So right now, when you find an ISO metadata document, Inspire sets some additional rules which allow you to instantly download the data or as an atom feed or as a WFS or view it on a map. And these additional rules are really useful. The same you can do from QGIS. There's the QGIS meta search plugin, which allows you to query the same catalog from within QGIS and instantly add the layer data to your map. So then the validators. This is, for example, the ETF Inspire validator. Well, it's probably similar to the OGC testing tool, but you're able to test your implementation if it validates to the Inspire rules. As an example, I also put here the GeoHealth check. Maybe you've seen just presentations about this tool. It's really also a good tool to help you do the implementation. And this is how it looks inside. This one monitors over time, so you can see when was your server available and when not. Then there's the Inspire dashboard. Is a elastic Kibana application, which shows you for various data sets the level of Inspire conformance, and it's also used on the European level, so you can also compare countries with each other. And over time. Well, some topics that kind of started within the scope of Inspire was a bit about usability. So how do normal web developers look at Inspire? And how can we facilitate it? This is a picture from that test bed where they projected kind of a wall in between the webs and Google's search engines and our nice OGC world. But by doing that experiment, our conclusion was more this. The whole world is more or less bundled in communities, and the stronger the level of standardization within such a group, the more able you are to connect to other groups. And we found that the lack of standardization in some of the other groups prevented interaction with those groups. From the software side, we developed this LD proxy tool, which is a layer on top of our OGC world, which brings our data to the search engines, to the open data portals. And from that work, so it made, in this case, for example, the catalog being searchable via the search engine, but even the WFS service. So you could find a WFS feature on the search engine. And from this work now is the new WFS3 specification coming that George presented. Now, the other aspect is Inspire and linked data. So 10 years ago, it was not relevant, but last year in the Inspire conference, we had these Inspire what-if sessions, and linked data was mentioned a lot as being a valid alternative. But there's a lot of happening in this area. So, for example, these are two GitHub repositories where there is guidelines and vocabularies to do Inspire using linked data. Also, this is a thread from the Dutch GeoForum. We have in the Netherlands, we have kind of a GeoForum where all kind of geo specialists interact with each other. And on this thread, somebody was suggesting a way to link from WFS features to link to that linked data alternatives, where then Clemens mentions, hey guys, 10 years ago when they write the Inspire documentation, this use case was already described, and we have the URI identifier for a GML object already there. So there's no need to think of new methods. Inspire has already thought about this use case. And then I go, wow, 10 years ago, somebody already imagined this and put it in a document. This is an initiative from Genovum in the Netherlands. NEN 3610 is our more national geo model. It's a complex model, and now they have a research testbed to link that one to linked data. So that report is coming soon. Some final words about Inspire as a proof of quality. This aspect I have not mentioned before, but quality, Inspire requires quite good quality of the services. So it requires you to monitor availability, performance, capacity, and usage, and report that to the European institutions, and you can see that in those Inspire dashboards. So anywhere where you see an Inspire service, you know that the quality is good, and the availability and the capacity. Well, I hope you get a bit inspired by my talk to check out some of the resources. Fixing problems in a European or global, as we are here together, is much more efficient than doing it on a national level. And efficiency is good for the environment, and this is where Inspire started. So this is kind of rounds up the story. And Inspire loves open source. Thank you. Well in time, I guess, so we can manage a lot of questions or not?
Depends how many people want coffee.
Yeah, that's true.
You ask as many questions as you like, and then it's coffee.
There was one aspect in your presentation that caught my attention, providing simple data to people that have simple needs and provide rich, complex data to people that have complex needs. Has there been any discussion about how to do it? Like, I suppose one simple way is to throw a shapefile to the people that have the simple needs and nightmare GML app schema thing to those that have the complex, but seems to be like a bit inefficient and arbitrary. Like, how do I decide which columns I put in the shapefile, and how do I decide where I stop in terms of implementing all the possible attributes of a complex app schema? Is there any automation or something like that?
Yeah, I love this question because, but to me it says, okay, apparently we're that low on the implementation level of the app schema that this question has never popped up before. I think it's very relevant because simplifying data is maybe even more difficult than making it complex. And because if you simplify things, you have to throw things away.
You model things away, yes.
Yeah.
That's the arbitrary decision that you have to make.
Yeah. But so any suggestion there from the room, please do.
Hello. Probably off topic, but I must approach this item. You started your presentation regarding that the difficulty of representing hydraulic infrastructure with GIS. Well, construction industry are using BIM. BIM is Building Information Modeling for those that don't know about it. And there are IFC standard for proposed by Smart Building Association, and they are developing very fast for infrastructure cadastre and other things. Inspire